But these operations are not like the traditional family farms. These in fact, are factories. They create as much biological waste, potentially toxic waste, as small cities in some cases, or large towns. And it gets at the fundamental issue of basic human rights. There's real public health issues associated with it, because basically people are left powerless within their communities to protect themselves. A fundamental purpose of government is to protect the rights of people. If we have a right to life, then we have a right to clean air, clean water, and safe, wholesome food. And these factory farms or CAFOs threaten every one of those rights, not just for the people that live most closest to them, but for the people, the family farmers that are in these communities, and the people that live in the communities and society as a whole. But it's basically a public health issues. Environmental issues are public health issues, and that's what we're suffering from. And it's a failure of government to fulfill its responsibility to protect the basic rights of people. Instead of giving priority to the economic rights of the corporations that increasingly control these operations, they should be giving fundamental human rights, protecting the human rights of people that live in rural communities and society in general.
There are so many people in rural Iowa that are suffering from having these confinement hog operations near their property. They come in and they really ruin their quality of life, and sometimes even their health. So this is a very important issue, and it's interesting that people aren't much aware of it generally in Iowa. It happens one at a time as people become aware of it when a CAFO moves into their community. And so it's unfortunate that we have to learn by being violated so well.
I had lived on a lovely little acreage in Marshall County for 22 years, a Victorian farmhouse, 2.5 acres of woods, a lovely old barn, and my family, we were building a legacy. My son was raised there. We were good neighbors, community people, and we were informed that a $24.99 head CAFO was coming to our neighborhood. From that day on, we educated ourselves about what exactly that meant. We began to advocate for perhaps more fair treatment of ourselves and our neighbors. I met Diane, the rest is history, but we didn't win. They came. We moved.
And the manure in the CAFO is stored in that liquid pit. It's different. When you drive around and you smell a hog CAFO, you're not smelling hogs. You're not even smelling hog manure. What you are smelling are the compounds that are created in that anaerobic pit. And in that putrefaction process, over 300 volatile organic compounds are created. And that is what you're smelling. All the odors and all the toxic gases are created in that industrial cesspool. So that's a very important thing that we understand that. It's not the hogs.
And yeah, I really think we're in the process of recreating the food system, recreating agriculture, recreating the food system.
The problem is we have the money going to the lobbyists, from the lobbyists to the legislators, and they're hearing this on one side. So we have to, as John's been saying, we have to be more vocal. We have to really fight that with a lot of people.
We went from door to door to door to see where people were standing on the issue, and we discovered that a lot of them were really against the livestock factories, but they were too afraid to say anything. And one farmer actually told me that because these confinements are using their corn, then they get an added value to that product. And so financially, they said, it's hard to say something against a system where we're making a little bit more money because of them. And so I think it really does put the family farmer really in a kind of precarious position because they're afraid to speak out because of the money too.
I think of CAFOs as an equal opportunity offender, right? There's pretty much almost anything for someone to get worked up about. You care about air or water or property values or treatment of animals, right? But in addition to that litany of offenses, I will speak to the mental health challenges. I'm not going to call them opportunities, right? People say call opportunities challenges, whatever. The challenges that come with feeling helpless, that come with feeling, if you feel heard, it perhaps is a token gesture to get you to be quiet, not keep talking. Anxiety, sleeplessness, depression, I literally went on antidepressants because of what had happened. And I'm not alone. Anxiety and sleeplessness and depression, those are some of the things that come out of those places as well.
What happened in the 1970s was this whole shift over of saying, okay, let's go from having government that supports independent family farms as a means of ensuring food security, because we had enough farms out on the land. That's what farm programs were originally around. They will take care of the land, they'll produce the food, and we'll be food secure. But in the early 70s, the Earl Butch years of saying the shift was, let's just make agriculture more efficient, and then it won't matter how many farms we have out here. We'll improve the efficiency of agriculture, we'll produce more, it'll cost less, and we'll have food security just out of economic marketplace. We'll just bring down the cost of production, everybody will have good food. It was a change in government policy. Every major government policy since the 1970s, in one way or another, has incentivized, supported, absorbed the risk of the large-scale, specialized, industrialized, corporately consolidated agricultural system that we have today. And now today we see the people waking up to the problems that we didn't anticipate, the environmental problems, the social problems, the public health problems, the destruction of rural communities, rural economies, rural cultures. As people are waking up, there's an incentive to move in a different direction, but government programs and the lack of government regulations is continuing to push toward this industrial system of agriculture, even though it didn't feed the hungry people and it didn't do the things that we intended for it to do. If we could get a shift, a major transformation in government policies to begin to give people opportunities, some incentives, and to support the transition from industrial agriculture to regenerative, sustainable, resilient agriculture, you could see a transformation very quickly. So I think that's what there's all sorts of systems out here that you could deal with the biological waste that comes out of these CAFOs. They produce basically the same kind of waste that comes out of a municipality. Put in a municipal waste treatment facility and you would have water coming out of them. But the basic problem is they say all these alternatives, I realize that's an extreme, there are others. All these alternatives they talk about, they say they're not economically feasible. Okay, what does it mean when they're saying it's not economically feasible? It says that if we had to do that, our cost of production would go up enough so that we couldn't compete with the independent family farms that we drove out of business. You know, you've got to allow us to have this market. You've got to allow us to produce cheap enough that we can keep other people from doing things in a better way. And that's what's got to change.
His research in 1999, Smithfield actually contacted North Carolina State University to do a study to try to find alternative ways to handle. They came up, the university came up with 18 different options to handle manure differently, and as to John's point, Smithfield said that none of them are economically feasible for us.
Iowa State University has, you can go to the website, Diane can tell you where to find it. Iowa State University has a whole range of things to mitigate odor coming out of CAFOs, but they don't implement it because it costs something. You know, their margin of profit, their margin of advantage over like the hoop house systems in the state of Iowa State University did, these studies on that, and they said anywhere from the hoop house being equal to in cost of production to $3 to $6 a head on the hog operations. Well, that's a pretty thin margin, and if they start paying to take care of their waste and take care of their manure, then they lose that marginal advantage over the other producers, and that's the reason that they don't do it. And that $3 to $6 a head, by the way, you're talking about 140 pounds of pork that comes out of that, so you're talking about maybe 2 cents a pound, 3 cents a pound at the retail level is all it would take to shift over and go to the alternative system. That's how narrow the advantage is, and that's the reason they're holding on to it.
These are a lot of things that could be used, like biofilters for the air, but these are all Band-Aids, and even the big Band-Aids like the methane generators, The thing is that we need to make a more ecologically sound farming system. And Wendell Berry said it well. He said, we've taken an elegant farming solution with animals integrated in the landscape, and we've pulled it apart with industrialization and made two problems: industrial crop production and industrial livestock production. So now we have two problems, and for every, in the Iowa State University data shows that for every acre of corn in Iowa and soybeans, we lose about 30 pounds of nitrate to the water resources. And so we have, both systems are leaky and problematic. We need to integrate them.
We need to see rural communities thrive so that young people want to go and live out in those areas.
It's not just a concern. The reality of contaminated water and our contaminated air is affecting all of us.
If you told people what's going on out here in rural areas and what we're doing to the environment, and we're honest about the public health risk associated with antibiotic-resistant bacteria, which is being multiplied in CAFOs and spread out in the environment, that the way agriculture is being run and the way our food system is run today is a violation of basic human rights. You know, the Declaration of Independence. I was quoting some in the film, but you know, the Declaration of Independence says that we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men, it says, all people are created equal, and they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That's exactly what it says. And I think the people down deep in their heart know this and they believe this. And if they really understood that the basic human rights of people to life, to clean air, clean water, safe food, if that's being violated, I think people would gladly pay 10, 15, 20% more for food. We spend on average less than 10% of our income on food. 2 or 3% of our income to have safe food, to have clean water, clean air, be ensuring the rights of people that are being, being discriminated against by this food system, by agriculture today. I think if people really understood the issues, they'd be glad to pay more for it.
I think if you look at the bigger picture right now, though, we look at how's agriculture working. It's not working for farmers. The crop producers are going broke. The livestock producers are going broke. It's not working for rural communities. It's not working for the environment. Who is it working for? It's working for the large corporations like Cargill and Prestige. So it's only working for them. And so that's why we really have to change. But farmers are caught in this. They're caught between the Farm Bureau lobbyists and the Cardinals of the world. They don't have what are they going to do? They have us boxed in. How can they jump out of that? It's not easy. And so we all have to help change that paradigm. Dr. Chris Jones from the University of Iowa has recently done a study looking at the nitrogen applied to all across Iowa. And he found out that we're actually, without the manure, we're applying more nitrogen fertilizer than the crops need based upon Iowa State University recommendations. On top of that, we have all this manure, which is theoretically being applied in a good way. And so we have too much of it out there, and it's not, we obviously know it's not being applied well.
So it's not a matter that we have too many hogs, it's just a matter that we put so many hogs in the same small space that you can't get the manure back out to the land. If you look at what it costs to spread the manure, what it costs on these tankers to get out, it depends upon the price of fertilizer and this sort of thing. But generally, you can't truck this manure more than 3 or 4 miles until the hauling cost is greater than the value of the fertilizer. So when you put all these hogs in one place, the tendency is to spread it as close to the barns as you can get away with, because the hauling costs begin to eat you up the further you go. But if you spread out the hogs and raise the corn and raise the soybeans, and then get, in a farming operation, then you can regenerate. And eventually that's what we'll have to go back to, but I don't know how we get from here to there.
We need to get back to real farming.
Mother needs daughter that done sold